Hey guys. Hey everyone. I'm Nerd Girl. This is Building Bridges. BitBoy is not here yet, so I just wanted to take a minute because it was start time, and I wanted to thank everyone for tuning in. He just sent me a message in Telegram, said that he's going to be here soon. I hope a bridge will be built to Tripod. Hey, I think that there's probably going to be more people than normal watching today. So the probability that I'm going to be able to read everyone's comments is pretty low, I think. We'll see. I also have a lot of my own questions. Oh, BitBoy is here. He's in the backstage. I'm going to let him in. But just so you guys know, I don't know if you see all the bling and everything behind me. And, I think everyone watching knows what the reason for that is. I'm just going to take a cue and we're going to do this experiment and see how it goes. All right. I love you guys too. I am going to let BitBoy in. Hey.
Hello. Oh my gosh, my head is so big. Let me make my head smaller. If it's possible. Okay, I'm going to come back here. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I understand. I play with it all the time too. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing today.
Yeah. Well,
I'm doing as well as I can be doing amidst the circumstances. So
amidst the dip?
Yeah, the dip.
The dip.
Yeah.
So a lot of the people watching today are like, what dip? Right?
Yeah.
So I have so many questions for you. And, I guess first I really want to ask you, thank you so much for doing this. This is
absolutely.
It was really nice of you. So you recently crossed 1 million subscribers on YouTube, and you have a cameo in Clerks 3 coming up, right?
Yeah.
So you're officially, according to the numbers, you are now a celebrity. You're no longer an influencer.
Oh, thank you for the numbers. I didn't know that. Today's the day I became a celebrity. Wow, this is incredible. Thank you. First, I want to thank the Academy and all the little people that helped me get here. So
according to the numbers, it's when you cross 1 million, you're classified now as a celebrity. So,
we made it. We're here. You did.
So huge congratulations for that. So I wanted to ask you, why did you agree to come on this show? I was kind of surprised.
Were you really?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not your usual big-headed celebrity, even though right now my head's a giant in the screen here. But in all seriousness, a lot of people, they look at my channel and they don't know the history of where we've been to where we are now. And they don't know the years that I struggled to get hundreds of views on videos, not hundreds of thousands. And so for me, I understand what it's like to be a smaller content creator and to work hard in this space and not get recognized, because I didn't get recognized for a long time. And so I think the day that you forget where you came from is the day that you start going down. So I like to always remember that I was in your situation once, and I was asking larger people to come on my channel, and some said yes, and some said no. And I remember the ones that said yes, and I remember the ones that said no. And so, part of my job as, the top, YouTuber in the space, and by social media numbers, we're wildly number one if you count TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff. Part of my job is to lift this entire space up. I'm not greedy. I don't want all the numbers for myself. I want crypto to grow. And so when there's people out there that are doing positive things, and that's why we do Around the Blockchain every day at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Some of the people that came on my channel had less than 1,000 subscribers. And we want to be a channel where people feel welcomed, that we can help boost their platform by coming onto our show. And also our audience can get different perspectives on, from a wide range of people that have been in this space a long time, some that are newer, some that have larger channels, some that don't. So that's the way we look at it. So I'm honored to have me on the show.
Thank you so much. So with that, any chance that I can bother you to retweet that we're on live right now?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Thank you.
Did you tag me in that?
Yeah, I did. But you get tagged in a million things. I can actually send you the.
I do.
I can send you the link in Telegram.
I can just go to your Twitter. I do not follow. I follow you on Twitter now.
You do? Okay, thank you.
I just did. So
okay, thanks.
Okay, here we go. So come watch me chat. Watch me chat about crypto. Okay, there we go.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
All right. So as the biggest crypto content provider, I guess, one thing that a lot of people want to know is, what's in your secret sauce? Like, what's the key to your success?
I'm relatable. I'm a human. And I think I represent the normal person in crypto. I'm not, no offense, nerd girl. I know you're a little nerdy. Okay. But we poke fun at the nerds on my channel because I'm just, I'm all American guy. I like football, coach for kids sports, like I'm a dad, I'm a husband. And I started out with nothing, I started out with, I was living paycheck to paycheck for a large part of my life. So I can really relate to where people are. And now that we've blown up and we're making a lot of money on the channel, my portfolio isn't, a lot of figures. I understand kind of what it's like on this end as well. So I can kind of just cover every end of the spectrum when it comes to people who are in crypto. And, my biggest mistake that I made was when I bought Bitcoin in 2012 was selling it all in 2013. And so I understand what it's like to feel like you had a great opportunity and it went by. And so that's why we work on educating people on our channel about what crypto is, because I kind of know what it's like to have it. I know what it's like to lose it. I know what it's like to go through a bear market, through a bull market. There's a lot of people that watch our show that aren't even in crypto, believe it or not. We get some people that watch our show just because they think it's entertaining. We put on a very high quality live stream and we're accessible. And so I think those are a lot of the things that kind of separate us. And of course, that's no shade to the way that other people do it. When you start talking about what you do well, it's kind of like, it's almost like you're calling out like, well, this guy's not relatable, or this guy's too nerdy, or this person does this. And that's not what it is at all. We just think that's what's made us successful.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're being authentic, right?
Yeah.
So I was kind of going to wait to get into this until a little bit later, and I just kind of want to touch on it really briefly now and then come back to it. But you said one of the biggest mistakes that you made was buying Bitcoin in 2012 and selling it early. So would a time lock function on a cryptocurrency be useful or wise?
I feel like this is a loaded question.
Well, we're gonna get into it, but
I feel like this question has many sides, maybe 8 of them. Okay, so did anybody get that joke? No, maybe 6 sides.
Yeah,
6 sides. Maybe it's got 6 sides, not 8. That would be an octagon. That's what maybe I'll fight in one day. Well, I would say I don't think that, like, just my honest opinion, I don't think that was an issue. Like, I think if I had, because the reason why I got into buying Bitcoin was because I needed it to buy a software for a business that I was running at the time. And so for me, like, I would have looked at that and been like, a time lock function. No, I just need to get it and spend it. What happened is I had money left over because of the price fluctuations. And then it like 100x or whatever, however many X's it went up during the time, it went from what I consider to just be like extra, like $50 or $100 in my account to all of a sudden it was 3,000, like it seemed like overnight. And so I wanted to be able to sell at that time. I think the key is the education. That's what I didn't have at the time. I didn't understand what I was looking for. So I would say I don't necessarily think that a time lock is super crucial or super important to a crypto, but it also, it is something that gives a little flair and uniqueness to cryptocurrencies or crypto assets that choose to go that direction. For me, it was just not understanding. I think that was the piece I was missing.
Yeah, for sure. The lack of understanding about so much of cryptocurrency has been true. Bitcoin was a scam forever, right? Yeah. And now, it's Bitcoin.
Well, it depends on who you ask. It's still a scam. Yeah, it depends on who you ask. Still a scam to some people.
That's true.
Yeah, to China for sure today. So
I have always had diamond hands and never really sold my assets from when I bought them. But I have a lot of friends who got into cryptocurrency like you. And they were, originally saying stuff like, oh, yeah, my intent was to hold it for 3 years. But then when it, 10x'd or 100x'd, I sold. and selling was and it was early. So I ended up having these huge taxes. And I also lost out on massive gains. And like, if only I had been forced to not sell until the time that I was going to, until the time that I had allotted for it to mature.
Well, so I think that kind of is, it just depends on why you got in. I mean, I didn't get in to hold. Like I actually was fulfilling the original use case of Bitcoin, which was a currency. So I was using it to pay for something, which, I mean, I was in a similar boat. Like this was not Silk Road affiliated in any way. I had never used a Silk Road, but it was kind of the same thing that happened to those people. The people who are using Silk Road, like they got into Bitcoin in order to use it to buy some mushrooms. And now those mushrooms that they paid $30 in Bitcoin for are worth, $7 million or something like that. I hope the high was worth it. So for some people, the people that get in, they say, my intention is to buy it as an investment. I think it is a totally different thing. At that time, like I couldn't understand it as an investment because there was like, I remember like Googling as I was sitting in a McDonald's selling my Bitcoin to a guy over the Wi-Fi from localbitcoins.com. I was trying to learn about Bitcoin. I was like, maybe there might be something to this. Let me look at it. And I started looking it up. I was like, Satoshi Nakamoto, why do I care what some guy in Japan is doing with a blockchain? What does that mean? And there just wasn't enough education. It was like the website I remember reading that on looked like it was from like 1995, which doesn't make any sense, obviously. But it was just very, very old looking website. And it wasn't something that made you want to read it. There wasn't like a lot of news articles out about it at the time and everything, that we have now. Like people take it for granted, the education, the fact that you can go to YouTube and you can search Bitcoin and you can find now, 20 different YouTubers that have over 100,000 subscribers that do content every day. So that wasn't available then. So, I understand for people that want to do something as an investment, they might want to say like, okay, I want to lock it up for a certain amount of time. So it just depends on what your viewpoint is on that.
Yeah, I understand. So, okay. Thank you, Jack, for the tip. So, I mean, you bought it because you intended to pay for things with it, not Silk Road things, but still, did you intend to pay for things with less money than you bought it for? Like you assumed that the value of the Bitcoin would go up so that you would have to spend less money purchasing whatever it was that you were going to purchase with it.
No, I had no idea. No, I had no idea.
Okay.
No. I had no idea. All I know is, so basically what it was is there was a guy who sold this. It was an auto poster for Craigslist. So my business at the time was selling tickets. I had a website, frontpagetickets.com. I sold a lot of tickets, millions of dollars tickets over several years. But one of my secret sauce to that business was I had an auto poster that would post nonstop on Craigslist in the tickets by dealer section. And I actually had another software that would go and renew the ads. At one time I was doing like 800,000 ads a day selling tickets. And it was like really insane. But what happened is the government Craigslist sued the guy and said that he couldn't use any payment processors. Now he couldn't answer the charge because he was overseas. He was in, I think, Ukraine or Russia. So he wasn't going to come to the United States to answer the lawsuit. So ICANN in the US shut his website down and shut all his payment processors down. And he was like, hey, don't worry about these payments until I figure something out. He came back 3 months later, was like, okay, make your monthly payments with this thing called Bitcoin. I didn't care what it was. I didn't know what it was. All I cared about was making that payment and keeping my service running. I had no idea the price was going to fluctuate. I didn't even notice the price fluctuated until maybe the third payment. And so that's when I ended up having extra money in the account that over the next quarter, because we paid it, I think every 3 months, it went way up. And that's when I was like, wow. In the time, like extra $3,000 was big for me. I was like $3,000, like, wow, take my family on vacation. I pay off some bills. I can do this, can do that. I never anticipated to go up further. In reality, it actually, I think, ended up going up another 200 or 300% because I sold at the beginning of November that year in 2013. And then by the end of November, it had gone up even more. And that's when I kind of started paying attention to it. But I was like, I sold everything. And then Mt. Gox crashed later in February 2014. And then, of course, the bottom dropped out of everything. So I was like, oh, well, wow, it could go up. But look, it could also go down a lot. There was a lot of volatility in that. So that's a long way for me to say I had no idea what I was putting money into.
Okay. All right. So you really didn't look at it as an investment. You looked at it as a uncensorable money.
It might as well have just been MoneyGram to me.
Okay. Got it. Cool. Okay. So one thing that I, like about you and your show is that you, even though you like Bitcoin, you hold Bitcoin, you've been like really vocally anti-maximalism. And you speak about the toxicity of Bitcoiners and, maximalists in general. And my research into crypto from the beginning has been about the evolution of tribalism. So I wonder, though, if you think that you're still impacted by the maximalist narrative, because it is like present everywhere, even in places where people hold other coins.
Well, I'll say this. I get it. I get the Bitcoin maximalism because now over this last year, I've crushed it so much. My portfolio is I'm like living in fantasy land at this point with it. Now, of course, the dip, the crash today didn't help. But I mean, it's already rebounded okay. And we're still, doing very well financially. And then we've already like moved money out, some money, like we bought a building, we bought real estate, we diversified some of it. So even if it went to zero, we'd still have, a good bit of money. And so I say all that to say, but now our biggest holding is Bitcoin. I have hardly ever held Bitcoin because I would rather have Ethereum or things that outperform it. But at this point, we've done so well that we look at Bitcoin as a hedge against the rest of our portfolio. And one of the reasons why we have a lot of Bitcoin is because we've been so bullish on altcoins that have outperformed it that we've been able to take those gains and then put it into Bitcoin as a hedge against altcoins. But we still think the altcoins are the driver of this market and getting the most gains. So I say all that to say, if we were to go back, 8 years ago, or if we were to go back 9 years ago when I bought Bitcoin for $12 a piece, if I had bought thousands of Bitcoin at that time, then why would I care to get into altcoins? It would just be like a cheap thrill. And if you look at all those most hardcore maxis, they only fall into two categories. They fall into either category A, which are people that bought Bitcoin very early and have such a large amount that it doesn't make sense for them to really try to get into altcoins. They're already millionaires, maybe 9 figures, maybe more in some cases. And so they would just rather hold the Bitcoin and watch it go up or play their whale games with leverage trading. And you look at a lot of those hardcore maxis, Saifedean, Tone Vase, Jimmy Song, obviously some of the others are escaping me right now, but I know what's the guy that does the podcast? Matt Odell. All these guys got in very, very, very early. They don't need altcoin gains. So they either fit into that category or they fit into the category that is like the fanboys. Like they didn't get in super early. They don't have a lot of money, but they've discovered that Bitcoin is a good brand for them to just kind of like hold on to. And we've seen a lot of the hypocrisy in these people where they say they're Bitcoin only, but then you find out they've got other investments in other projects or other investments, in companies that are Ethereum related or whatever. Bitcoin is a brand. Bitcoin Twitter is a brand. Peter Schiff, for instance, his brand is anti-Bitcoin. And so it really does have to do with tribalism, but you can't, like some of these guys can't possibly believe the things that come out of their mouths. They're only saying it because it aligns with the little cult that they're in. And a lot of these guys, they look at those top maxis as kind of like folk heroes. And so they want to make sure they're aligned with whatever those people say. One thing I hate a lot, and I talk about this a good bit, like I am very authentic. I am very transparent. I can't stand intellectual dishonesty. It drives me up the wall to see someone say something that they can't possibly really believe. It bothers me a lot. And we see that so much with the maxis that it's unreal.
Okay, so I was going to wait to ask this question, but there are people saying stuff in the chat. So I'm going to ask this and then we'll get back onto the track that I want to be on. Do you think that Hex is a scam?
Okay, so I have never, maybe I have said that other people have called Hex a scam. I don't think I've ever actually, maybe an offhand comment. Maybe I said it at some point. I don't think I have. I had Richard on the show.
A couple times.
What's that?
A couple times, right?
Yeah, a couple times. personally, I like Richard. Sometimes he reminds me of a more brash version of myself and a less humble version of myself, which some people would say is really hard to do. But he does it and he owns it and he's very smart. I think a lot of people were very surprised when he came out with Hex and discovered like all the kind of nuances of it. But I made the argument before, to me, Hex, it's got just a lot of the same characteristics that a lot of DeFi projects have. But for some reason, he was the first one to really do something like this. And so people branded him as a scammer and all this stuff. So I sold all my Hex. I made a lot of money with it. I made about $50,000 on it. And which is a time when that was a much larger percentage of my portfolio. For me personally, Hex isn't something I'm just more interested in other things. And so it's not something I invest in, but I think I think the price was up from where I sold it. I think, if I'm correct,
considerably.
Yeah, considerably. Yeah, it was up. So a lot of people know that basically what happened is I was given like a free amount, like free, no strings attached, and it grew to like a huge amount. And back over, let's see, I guess it was in the fall. Justin, who was my podcast co-host, Beards and Bitcoins, all you guys know him, J Chains, he actually had gotten hacked. And so he lost I think it was like 25K or something like that. And so that's actually the reason why we sold it, is because it was up and he had lost a bunch of money. And so kind of just like to get him back on track, I said, let's just go ahead and sell this. And he was able to get a good bit of that back that he had lost. So that was actually the driving force for us selling the final amount. We had decided that we were going to hold on to it for a while, but then that happened. It kind of threw stuff off. So Hex is just, it's one of those things that's very controversial. And I don't necessarily really love talking about a lot of super controversial projects because it just turns some people off while some people do love it.
So that may be another element of your secret sauce, right? Is staying away from controversy.
Well, it is tough because we do tackle a lot of controversial issues, and I'll say controversial things about opinions that I believe about different things. But for me with Hex, it's one of those things where I haven't made a super strong stance on it one way or the other. I'm still kind of like sitting back and waiting and looking before I really and the fact that I can't decide what I think about it, like, to me, that's a good sign I probably shouldn't be talking about it. So
sure. Sure. Okay. That makes sense. So, you know what? I have to address something because it continues to come up in the comments. Someone's asking, is the title clickbait? And the answer is yes. So I took a lot of cues from this episode from Richard, like the blingy, and the crazy clickbaity titles. Yes, it is to get more people watching the stream. Yes. So if that bothers you,
own that. That. I love it.
So if that bothers you, I am very sorry that you're upset, but feel free to tune out. So, okay. So you and I are in a Telegram group together. I think it's your Telegram group, right?
Well, it's not actually my Telegram group. So I'm an admin. I think the only admins are me and Wendy and Crow. So it's kind of a funny story. Like Crypto Crow actually started this Telegram group back in 2018, early 2018. And I was one of the first people in it because I had met him, I didn't meet him in person, but I just kind of knew some of the people that knew him, Crypto Love and some other people, and they invited me in. I was like really honored to be a part of that because it was just I only had 1,000 subscribers at the time. And so the other people all had like 50, 60, 70, 80,000, and they let me in, which was really cool. And so eventually what happened is we had a big event that was in California, and we let this guy Adam in, which we like Adam Charles. And he came in and he added like all these other YouTubers for the event. And then it just kind of became this like really big kind of YouTube content creator group. So I've been there since the very beginning, like within the first few days, I think that it was created. But I am an admin and I'm very active in there. And that's, this is one of those things, like during the span of that Telegram group, I went from being someone that nobody knew to the top YouTuber. And it's just been really interesting to kind of watch other people, in that chat. And just like I think something you said earlier about like you're surprised it came on, like a lot of those people were like, oh, he outgrew us, he won't come on my channel anymore. But when they, when they send me messages, I, go on their channels. I can't go on every channel all the time because of my time. But, we invite a lot of those people to come on our Around the Blockchain show and stuff like that. It's been a really good, positive group.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I like the group in there, and nobody really gets mad about your positions on things, even if you disagree. Yeah. It is a nice little group. So one time I work for a PR, crypto marketing, PR and consulting agency called LDA. And one time in the group, I was asking one of the projects that we represent had some money, and they were like, we want some influencers. Doesn't matter what size. So I, posted in the group, hey, anybody want to do this? And, a few people reached out, and one person reached out and asked me to ask you a question, or asked me if I knew. And they said that your rates are really low. And I said I wasn't familiar with them because you don't currently represent any of the projects that my company, that the company that I work for represents. But if I had to guess, I would imagine that you would give a lower rate for smaller cap coins that have budget limitations and that you see major potential in. Is that the case?
Well, so you just get into it's the sponsored video business is very complicated. We actually had a conversation this week about should we increase our rates now that we're 1 million subscribers, and we kind of decide we're kind of already at the top end of what of the rates. Obviously, I don't think anybody probably charges more than us. We're the number one. I mean, that should make sense, right? But we're also very picky who we work with. So we don't really do a lot of smaller, we don't do one-off videos for the most part. If we do a video for someone that's a one-time sponsored review, it's either something we deeply believe in, we know is going to succeed, or it's someone that's had a very long history in the space, has been around since 2017 or 2018. So we know they went all the way through a bear market and they worked through the whole thing. We just know we have a huge responsibility on this space. And I think a lot of people have this idea that it's a money thing, that it's okay, if we just pay him X number of dollars, then he'll do a video. So one project is started at $10,000 and now they're offering up to 60 or 70,000. And we're no, no, you can offer me $1 million. I actually have been offered $1 million to do a video before. No, I will not do it. There's no amount of money that I will forfeit my soul over. If it's something that I don't think is something that we want to work with, then we're not going to work with it. It's just how it is. We saw over last summer when we were doing a lot of DeFi projects and we weren't, I was growing into this role as being a larger YouTuber, and we made some mistakes. We covered projects that had anon teams, and those teams ended up rug pulling. We had one project that we worked with that had their smart contract audited, and everything looked great. And they did right after that video, they changed the smart contract. They totally changed it to a different one, and then they rug pulled on everybody. So it was we learned a lot through that process, that we've got a great responsibility in the space, and we have to make sure at all times we're doing everything we can to make sure that our people are safe. And we can't guarantee that everything that people invest in that we talk about on our channel is going to go up for sure. I mean, today, if nothing else, tells that story. But we want to make sure that we're doing a really good job of putting the kind of the best ball up on the tee for people to hit. And so we want to know projects are working and that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. That's why we really don't work. We don't do sponsored reviews for anything that is anon. Ever. We have a couple private sales that we're in that have some anon teams, but we've actually met with those people. We know who they are. But I don't I know it's kind of counterproductive because of Bitcoin, but I don't really like anon projects because we've just been burned by too many. So in terms of pricing for the larger versus the smaller, if there's something that's smaller that is really good that we really like, a lot of times we'll just cover them without it being sponsored if it fits within that wheelhouse. And then other times, we may go a little closer in on the bottom of our rates. But the fact is that we have to have a standard rate. And our rate is very comparable to any other YouTubers that are in the 200,000, 100,000 subscriber and up bracket, I would think, or especially the 200 and up. But what I would say is that we can't, we already turn down 99% of stuff we're offered. 99% we turn down. We get hundreds of emails a week. We do about one or two.
I've submitted multiple requests from more companies that have been declined. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's some stuff out there that's probably pretty good that we've had to turn down. But we're just so picky because we feel like we have to be. And it's just one of those things where our audience, since we have more of a mainstream, newer audience, obviously, they're going to be better served with projects that we know are successful already. Top flight projects. We work with Cartesi, OneChain. Those are two projects that we work very close with. They're older projects. Cartesi's not as old as OneChain by any stretch of the imagination, but they're a layer 2 solution like Polygon. We like advisor deals because it allows long-term partnerships between us and other projects like YFDI and Ferrum or two others that we work with. Benchmark is a kind of a newer project, but it's got a lot of credibility behind it. We just like to stick with stuff that's very credible and like we can't miss on because if it's something that we feel questionable about, even a little bit, then we got to say like our audience could get hurt. And that's my greatest fear is that people get hurt based upon advice or, well, we don't do financial advice, as people know, but based on my opinions or the things that we talk about.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot of people in the chat saying Hex has proven itself and the fact that it's a complete smart contract, that doesn't need anybody's further development should be, evidence enough. But I'm just mentioning that because a lot of people are saying it. So I actually kind of want to come to this. On your May 17th stream 2 days ago, you said that only Cardano is the only coin that's been crushing it as it should be. So as of about 1 hour ago, Cardano is ADA is up 21.2% this month. Hex is up 167.7% this month. XCRT is up 331.6% this month. Matic is up 535.3% this month, and Quick is up 497.8% this month.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about where you got those numbers.
What was my exact statement?
Your exact statement was Cardano is the only coin that's really been crushing it as it should.
Yeah. I mean, obviously people have to understand it's a live show. And you get the totally off the cuff me 100% of the time because that's just kind of how I am. So I will speak obviously in hyperbole sometimes. And I mean, Cardano is the only coin in the top 10 that has been crushing it in the last couple of weeks.
Hex is in the top 10.
Yeah. What's that?
Hex is a top 10 by market cap cryptocurrency.
On some sites, not on CoinMarketCap.
By actual market cap.
Well, I mean, we got to get into dicing tomatoes here on what is the most credible source for those numbers. And so we generally use CoinMarketCap because in general, their standards for keeping things out of the top 200 work, not all the time. So that's why I don't really see the market cap of Hex because we're not actually looking at what is it on CoinGecko? They have it there as well, or do they have it lower there?
They do. They have it, I think, also on page 3.
Yeah. So CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap are the only two sites that we use. Now, that could be a flaw, not saying it's right or wrong. That's just generally what we use for our numbers. So if it's not up there, then it is what it is. So they have different standards that they keep. And in general, I think they're pretty good standards. They're not flawless by any stretch of the imagination. So, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the end all be all, but that's what we use. So obviously when I'm looking at those numbers, that's, Hex isn't showing up on either one of those in the top 10 or top 20.
Okay, sure. Okay. So, I mean, just so that anybody who isn't aware watching this knows, CoinMarketCap is owned by Binance.
It is, which I prefer. I heavily prefer that over the previous owners, but still not a perfect system.
Okay. All right. So you've repped or have ownership in a DEX, right?
DEX aggregator.
Yes. DEX aggregator. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we have BitSwap. It's called BitSwap, bitswap.io or bitswapdex.io. And it is basically an aggregator. We actually had one of the very first aggregators. This was before MetaMask released their own aggregator inside of their app. We like MetaMask as well. But basically what it does is it crawls across, I think 13 dexes now. I can't remember exactly how much it does. Now I think it does also have Binance Smart Chain bridge capability, and it works as well as anything else. As long as the project is on more exchanges than just Uniswap, you're going to save money by using BitSwap.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's actually why I kind of knew. I think I got in touch with you once. There was someone impersonating you, specifically in the QuickSwap group that I moderate. And it was like, BitBoy, hey, I want to make a video about QuickSwap. And I clicked on it. I clicked on it to like send you a message. And I saw that we had no previous messages. So I was like, that's not the same person, So I reached out to you to make sure, but I wrote back to the person in the group and said, hey, this isn't the same account that we've messaged from before. So I'm going to need you to either message me from that account or an official account that I can verify. And you get a lot of impersonators, I imagine.
I would venture to say, I think we have more than anyone else on the face of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously crypto is right now. There's a lot of Elon Musk ones. That's a newer development. I mean, that's popped up over the last few months, obviously because of his involvement with Dogecoin. But usually the Elon Musk impersonators, they're actually even more spammy, scammy, and unbelievable than our impersonators. Mm-hmm. We have thousands of impersonators across every platform. We actually have a company that I pay $5,000 a month to help us try to remove them. So that's obviously no financial benefit to us is BitBoy Crypto. That's just, and I say us as the entity. I have a company. I've got 30 employees and, an office and things like that. But, that's not financial benefit to us. That is strictly like $5,000 a month we're paying to protect people that come across our platforms. So I hope people have noticed on YouTube and Facebook, at least so far, a big downswing in the number of impersonators and WhatsApp scammers than we have. But it is one of those things that, I remember when I was nobody. People didn't care what I said. And I would see other people that would get impersonators and I would be like, oh, that's nice that they get to a point where they actually have people that are, wanting to try to pretend to be them. I mean, that means they probably kind of made us like, there were other people that had about the same number of followers that I had, and like they'd have an impersonator. I'd be like, why does no one want to impersonate me? And now, like, it is a plague of epic proportions. And like, I slam my head on the wall just even thinking that was something that at one point I thought, because it is by far the thing that makes me more angry than anything else is that people are, taking advantage of our name. And I get so many messages, but the thing is, like, right now we're so big that I get Twitter DMs almost as fast as regular notifications. I will get thousands in a day. And I can't even keep up with them. And a lot of them are people that are reaching out like, hey, is this really you, this message I got? And when I do come across those, I always respond and say, no, scammer. But unfortunately, like, we're to the point where we don't see all the messages anymore. So it's like my ability to protect my audience and protect potential people in the Bit Squad, as we call the community, like it just sucks. Like, I don't have enough capacity to do it. We can only monitor and try to do our best, but it's something that, the way that these people prey on people is that crypto is already too good to be true. And you're already in this mindset of, get 160% gains in a month. So the gap between that and, hey, if you give me $1,000, I'll turn it into 10,000 and just send it back to you. That gap is much smaller than it would be in other markets. And so they're really able to prey on that euphoria that people already feel when they come in and make 10% in a day even, that they're able to take advantage of people. And it's really sad. And I just hope that somehow through blockchain and verification, identity services, that there will be a way eventually to stop this. And I still believe Twitter is negligent. Like, I'm one of the largest crypto accounts there, and everybody knows me. I'm verified on every other platform, but I'm not verified on Twitter, and they won't do it. It kind of pisses me off.
I think that may have something to do with Jack's Bitcoin maximalism.
Maybe. I won't trade a check for a maxi take, though.
What?
I won't trade a check mark for a maxi take.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I have to ask you something, because it's coming up a lot in the audience, and they're saying, can Etherscan's numbers be trusted?
I prefer ETHPLOR over Etherscan myself.
So yeah, okay, yeah. So they're saying, do you think Etherscan is lying about the market cap?
Well, I mean, the whole market cap of everything is a facade. Even like Bitcoin's market cap's not really $1 trillion. I mean, a lot of that is IOUs and leverage and people borrowing from this guy. If you actually add up the dollar to dollar amounts in the market caps, they're wrong already. We don't actually have a great way, in my opinion, to come up with that or calculate that. So I always believe in don't trust, verify. I mean, that's the whole thing. Is what we were just talking about with the impersonators. So, but at some point we have to kind of have some basis that we agree on. And CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap, while they're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, they're the top two in terms of website visitors. So we know they're the two most popular coin research sites. And so for that purpose, like, we have to have some kind of level of consistency and a basis that we can all just have some understanding to look at the numbers by. And so I know there's a lot of people, I'm sure, that are wanting to ask the Hex related questions. And here's the thing. Crypto is really big. You know what I really like? I really like Binance Smart Chain. I really like the idea of making money with PancakeSwap. Why I own PancakeSwap as a token, I don't necessarily trust the people that do PancakeSwap, but that's a different story. I love the idea of being able to get on these DEXs, these new DEXs, and make a lot of money, right? But I don't use them because I don't have time. At some point in crypto, you kind of just have to pick and choose your battles and what you want to go with. For us, we go with the smart contract platforms that are the most robust, that have the biggest ecosystems right now, that have projects building on them. And that's why we go with, that's why we like Cardano, we like Ethereum, we like Polkadot. Those are the main ones. We like Solana, we like Elrond. So just because we don't necessarily talk about a project, that's not always an indictment on the projects. Just some point we have to have some kind of level where we say, like, okay, these are the things we're mainly going to talk about. I mean, we do 3 videos a day and we still don't have time to talk about everything. So that's just kind of my viewpoint on it. And like I said, you guys you won't see me saying negative things about Hex. It's just not one of those things that's really on my radar at this time. Okay.
So that's fair enough. So I have one more question for you about non-Hex stuff. And then I would like to ask, just talk a little bit about the upcoming Pulse and if you've looked into that. But I know we've got limited time. So really quick, you have mentioned your love for Cosmos before on your stream. I'm wondering if Persistence 1 is on your radar yet.
No, I do not know Persistence 1. Is that a competitor?
No, it's actually built on the Cosmos ecosystem. Cosmos. Yeah, and it's been like top performing on
that's the XBRT you were talking about?
Yep. And I think one of my colleagues had said that he had been in touch with you about it. So I wanted to mention it also because I missed a meeting with that team to be here. So I promised that I would mention it.
Okay.
All right. So, moving on.
I'm just looking at, I look kind of dazed out right now. I'm looking at the numbers. I'm looking at Persistence right now and where it is. It's 244 on CoinMarketCap, a little bit higher on CoinGecko. So, okay. Well, I mean, if it's a good competitor and it looks good
to Cosmos, it's not a competitor.
Yeah. You said it's built on Cosmos. That's what you said.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay.
All right.
Well, it's on the radar.
Yeah. Now let's get into the questions that everyone in my, in the chat here, a lot of people in the chat here want me to address. So, in early interviews with Richard, you seemed open to the possibility of Hex. Did you? And I think you've really addressed to this throughout the conversation. Yeah. Did you just not really do a bunch of research on it? Just didn't grab your interest, or?
Well, I would say that my honest, 100% honest thing on it is I don't really understand it 100%. It's very complicated, and it was a very revolutionary way of looking at things. I don't use what is a CD, right? A CD, a lot of people know what CDs are. I've never bought a CD. Well, let me take that back. In the early 2000s and late 90s, I bought a lot of CDs. Okay, but they were at Sam Goody. Okay, not that kind of not
Not
the
a certificate of deposit.
What's that?
Not certificates of deposit.
Not certificates of deposits, right? So I don't come from the traditional market. I've never bought CDs before. So really just trying to wrap my head around all that, and then where the smart contracts are built in, and then the time locks, and then the bonus that came in the very beginning. It's a little over my head, honestly. It's not something that I grasp 100%. And if I don't feel like I can grasp it 100%, that really prevents me from being able to take an educated position on it. And so like, hey, if I dedicated all my time to studying Hex, probably within a few days, I could have it figured out, and I have to be able to like visualize the whole thing in my brain from a point where I'm going to talk about it and not sound like an idiot, because I only want to talk about things that I understand fully. So that has always been, because yes, of course, everybody knows people call Richard a scammer. People have called Hex a scam since the very beginning. I've been very open to not calling it that. And so I've gone out of my way.
That is true. And a lot of people, I have not heard you specifically say that you believe Hex is a scam.
Right. So that's kind of at this point, like kind of the best I can offer. If all of a sudden, like, I mean, do we just think that there's a giant conspiracy from CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap against Hex? Is that, I don't know if that's something that people believe, but once kind of some of these bigger organizations were to accept it, and like if it was in the top 10 on CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, the sites that we check, then I would feel a little more pressured to do that, to wrap my mind around it, because people are going to see it. The mainstream person, because guys, my channel really appeals to the beginner and intermediate. We don't get too technical on my channel. A lot of people know that. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a nerd, I'm not a coder. I'm not a developer. I don't know how to, work a smart contract. I don't know how to code that. So my channel consists of people that are going mostly to those two sites to do their research, and then along, probably token metrics as well. So until those places recognize Hex, I'm not going to feel the pressure, because most of my audience probably has no clue what it is. So I can't, with a good conscience, go on and bring people into something that A, I don't understand, and B, it's a little bit harder to get the info on. So that's just my position on it. We talk mostly about the top coins on my channel, and so until it kind of gets up, I know people would argue that because I'm not even looking at the comments right now, but I already in my mind see the comments that people are making.
Sure.
Yeah, so like that's just my position on it, and it's no hate towards anybody. But look, I hope I made money with Hex. I hope a lot of people in the chat, that are Hex investors, like, I hope you make a lot of money with it. That's always my want and yearning for anyone that watches my videos. We certainly don't want people investing in Ponzi schemes like BitConnect that are literally borrowing money to, pay, Robin Peter to pay Paul, or however the phrase goes. But at the same time, like, there may be projects that we cover that may eventually go bust. They may just not work. The idea may not be good enough. They may not be, like Cardano still at this point is questionable what's going to happen with it. Ethereum is questionable. Is E 2.0 going to work? So obviously, like, some of these projects do have questions, but during this bull run, which hopefully we're still in, like, I want people that are invested in almost anything to make as much money as possible. So that's why, like, I'm not going to come out and say, Hex is a scam just because a lot of other people are saying it, because I don't want to hurt people that are invested in it when I don't know for sure.
Okay, so we got a super chat, and I want to say it. Crypto is supposed to be decentralized, not two lists controlling everything that come from centralized exchanges. And I would tend to 100% agree with the fact that that is a major, major problem. So with all of that said, I don't know. I know that you're a super busy guy. I rewrote a layperson's guide to Hex that was originally written by a Hex developer without all of the like complicated stuff from the beginning phase. Maybe if I it's like an 8-minute read. Maybe if I sent it to you, you could take a look.
Maybe I could drop it in my, I can drop it in my research team, see what they say.
Okay, yeah. All right. So with that said, let's move on from Hex. Are you aware that Richard is now forking the entire Ethereum ecosystem to create PulseChain?
I don't know Richard. I don't know who he's forking. What?
Okay.
That was a joke. So no, no, I'm not aware. So there's a new. He's forking Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe to do something to fix the gas fees. Is that the goal there?
Yep, that is the intent, because particularly for those coins and tokens that have like a large S load. You know, places where the fees for staking and unstaking are unreasonable.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Something needs to happen. The Ethereum with the gas fees, it's kind of catch-22. It's like we want the price to go up, but when the price goes up, there's more congestion on the network, and then the gas fees are high, and then we kind of start this cycle of everybody not wanting to use it again. So hopefully that gets fixed over the summer with the London hard fork, at least to some extent. But yeah, no, it's interesting. I think I did hear somewhere that he was forking Ethereum, but I didn't know what it was called or what the purpose was.
So yeah, it's a PulseChain, and they're saying that it will be the largest airdrop in history because, of course, if you hold any ERC20, except for I think 2 are being forked out, those coins will be those tokens will be replicated on PulseChain, though we don't know yet what kind of price parity they'll reach.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have ERC20 tokens. I have a lot of them, so
I guess rich. You're going to be getting a portion of the largest airdrop in history.
Wow. I'm a whale.
You're a whale. Okay, so I have something Richard said when I asked him, because there were a lot of when I said, that I was going to be doing this interview, there were a lot of people asking like if you felt bad about selling the hex that you were gifted, and I was like, why should he? Like, a gift does not come with strings, and it's not supposed to. So I kind of I went and asked Richard, like, what do you think about that? Like, and he said, no, he shouldn't feel guilty at all. You should never apologize for selling what's yours, and that hex was. However, I'm going to quote him. All right, he said, imagine shilling trash all day, every day, and only mentioning that you sold your house hidden gem and not that anyone bought or ever should buy it out of cowardice.
Oh, cowardice. Well, Richard, if you want to get in the octagon, if you want to get out of the hex and go to the octagon, we can bare knuckle it out if you want to see cowardice. How about that? We're trying to arrange a fight. I want to fight somebody after this dip today. So
hey,
Richard,
I think that would be awesome. There have been crypto matches going on, right? Like, that would be an amazing one to watch.
Yeah. Well, I think on a serious note, I mean, if Richard wants to climb in the ring, I might climb on the ring with him. But the serious thing, though, is, I mean, I think during this, I gave you guys information that nobody ever had before, which was honestly the reason why I did sell it at that time, was because my best friend had just gotten hacked and had just lost $25,000. And we were able to recoup a lot of that money by selling Hex. Now, look, it has gone up. He would have made much more returns, but he also would have made returns on the Chainlink and the other coins that he had. It was basically his Binance account got wiped out. So it was on it because we had to make the decision together to do it, because we had to unlock it at the same time. So it was actually a huge help to him, which the podcast where we were giving it was me and Justin. And so it was kind of appropriate.
I'm a huge fan of J-Chains. We've been following each other for a long time. I'm glad that he was able to recoup his his hacked losses.
Yeah. So that was actually why we sold it. It wasn't because we were just we had decided we were going to hold it for a while, but just when look, guys, you have life events that come up and it changes your plan. My plan actually was to hold it, and I would have been very happy right now, obviously, if we did hold it and we didn't sell it. And that was the plan. But unfortunately, that thing came up and I felt so bad for him, because at the time, obviously my channel was blowing up and we were doing really well and we were growing, we were making a lot of money. And he had actually just came out of the pandemic where he had lost his job. And so it was something that I could do to help him. And so that's why we did it. It wasn't just because we were like, let's just sell this and get rid of it. We would have liked to have held it, for a much longer time, but it was something that really helped him out personally.
That's good. I'm really glad that it was able to help him. And so, okay. I don't really want to ask you any of these other questions about Hex, because I feel like you've addressed them at other points in the interview. We are running out of time. I just want to say, I think PulseChain will be far less controversial because it will appeal to a much broader audience. It's not starting something new. I mean, it is, but in a way, it's taking a technology that we know already works and making it, you know, more scalable and more affordable. So I wonder, you know, with Pulse being less controversial, what I really wanted to do this interview for was because I just like, I know that there's kind of been some tension between you and, you know, the Hex community, and like, I'm hoping that we can build a bridge. That's what my show is about, building bridges.
Yeah. Well, hey, I love building bridge, and hey, I love the Hex community. I love all communities in crypto. I hope everybody does well and makes money. That's why we're all here. But, you know, we're all here during a bull run to make money, but we stay in the bear market because we believe in something bigger than the traditional finance system. But let's be honest, everybody wants to make money, and my hope is that everybody in that community does. I think I've done pretty good job of explaining my viewpoints and my thoughts on it, and why we don't necessarily cover it, you know, a lot on this channel. But we'll watch Pulse and see how it does. Obviously, we know that the gas fees are a big problem. They have to get solved. So if that can play a role in fixing this, or fixing the gas fees, and you know, who knows, maybe if we get some NFT platforms built on PulseChain that actually are able to, you're able to sell NFTs without somebody having to pay $400 to buy a $20 NFT, then in that case, I think it would be something we'd take a look at. So, I mean, I'm very open-minded about things.
Well, especially because you'll have lots of coins that are already replicated on PulseChain, so you'll be kind of incentivized to be interested in the system. So people are saying, yes, Pulse has NFTs. Let's see, Joe Hexotic. Someone wants to send you one Hex so that you can be one of us.
Yeah. All my Hexers live in Texas. Sorry.
Yeah. All right, BitBoy, thanks so much for being here today. Before I ask you to like physically build a bridge with me, I want to, this is like how I wrap things up here. I wanted to ask if there's anything else that, you know, I didn't ask you that you want to share.
I would just say that obviously today is a tough day for a lot of people, and, you know, remember the bigger reason for why we're in this space. The people that come in, make the quick buck, they'll always eventually lose, because this is about, you know, something much bigger than just us. It's something much bigger than just about a market that fluctuates up and down. We are building the automobile compared to the horse and buggy, which is a traditional finance system. And so we, like you said, there's a lot of tribalism in crypto, but at the end of the day, like, if you're really in here for the right reasons, you'll eventually do well. You'll learn, you'll get educated. But that doesn't mean that, you know, you're going to make money all the time. So, you know, today was a hard day. I understand what everybody was going through. I lost millions of dollars today. Now the market's back up a little bit. So doing a little bit better, recovered some of that. And that's why we say those are unrealized losses, because we don't sell, we just hold. And, you know, definitely shout out to your community, and, you know, thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks so much for coming on the show. And now, so will you build,
we build a bridge. Oh gosh. Yeah. Wrong. Look at this hand. Oh.
Yeah, there we go. We built a bridge with BitBoy, guys. That's awesome. BitBoy, thanks so much for being here. Thank you so much for your time. Guys, I will see you on Saturday. I'm sure that I'll see you before then. Yeah. All right. Have an awesome day, everyone.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.